Hello, my name is Dr. Yaga Sissoko. Today we are going to talk about Chapter 18, the factors for the market of production, the demand for labor. The economic income is distributed in the market for factor of production. What is factor of production? Factor of production are input used to produce goods and services. One example good would be car or housing. Services would be education services or banking services. The three most important factor of production are labor, such as worker or employees, land used for farming, and capital, equipment or machinery. So on the other hand, demand for factor of production, such as derived demand, is come from firm decision to supply a good in another market. So labor market is well known as the job market. So like any market, labor market consists of buyer and seller. So the seller are the supplier, so who are the worker or the people looking for job. And then the buyer are so the consumer, so or businesses who are going to hire the people looking for job. Labor demand is a derived demand and it consists of labor services. Labor services are the input into the production of other goods. Figure number one display the versatility of supply and demand. In panel A, we have the market for apples. So we can see that the panel A display how the supply of apple and the demand for apple determine the equilibrium price of apple and the equilibrium quantity of apple sold in the market. On the other hand, panel B display the market for apple pickers. So this market show how the supply of apple picker and the demand for apples, so picker determine the equilibrium weight for apple picker and the equilibrium quantity of apple pick. So to derive the demand for labor, we are going to make the assumption that the labor market follow the competitive, so firm condition. A firm is competitive in both market for goods and for labor. So they are considered as price taker. They take the price at given, meaning you have many buyer and many seller in both market. They pay the wage, the market wage, and they also receive the market price for the good. They decide what quantity of gold to sell and what quantity of labor to hire. And film also, is a profit maximization film. They try to maximize profit. To also drive the demand for labor, we need the production function. The production function display the relationship between the quantity of input used to make the good. We know that input are labor, capital, and entrepreneur, and the quantity for output, like apple, of that good, so produce it. So as the curve become flatter, the quantity of input would increase. So as you use more of the input, output also will increase. There is a positive relationship between the quantity of input and the quantity of output. So the marginal product of labor (MPL) is the increase in the amount of output from an additional unit of labor. For instance, if you hire one more worker, how much additional output would that worker be able to produce it? It's like basically the productivity of each worker. So the diminishing marginal product is an input decline as the quantity of that input increases. So you can see that as you hire more and more worker, the productivity or the additional unit of the labor will start to decrease. So this explains the shape of the production function. So table 1 display how competitive firm decide how much labor to hire, how many workers should the competitive firm hire. So column 1 is labor, the quantity of worker hire. Column 2 is the output Q, the quantity of so output producing. So column 3 is the marginal product of labor MPL, which is the change in Q divided by the change in L. For instance, the marginal product for adding a second worker equal to, so the quantity of apple produced by two workers, 180, minus the quantity of apple produced by one worker, 100, minus the, the change in level 2 minus 1, that's going to be 80, divided by 2, that's going to be 80 bushes. So on the other end, the value of marginal product of labor, VMPL, equal to the price of the output time the MPL. In this case, we're dealing with Apple, the price of the market price of Apple, which is $10 time the MPL. So 10 times 100, for instance, which is equal to 1,000. 10 times 60, we're going to take 600. 10 times 20 equal to 200. So wages, W is the salary paid to each Apple picker. So it's going to be 500, doesn't change. The wage is fixed for each worker. So marginal profit equal to the change in the profit, which is VMPL minus W. So you take 1,000 minus 500, that's going to be 500. 800 minus 500, that's 300. 600 minus 500, that's 100. 400 minus 500, that's going to be negative 100. 200 minus 500, that's going to be negative 300. So let me ask you the following question. How many workers should this Apple company hire in order to maximize profit? Profit will be maximized whenever value of MPL equal to the wages. So you can see that. So here, so the value of PL about 6, right there. So the 600 close to 500. So they should hire between 2 and 3 workers, about 2.5 workers. Then MPL will go to 500, and profit will still be maximized. Figure number 2 display the production function. So we can see that the production function show how an input production apple picker influence the output produces the from the output from production, the apples. So we can see that as the quantity of input increases, the production get flatter, showing the property of diminishing return. So in order to maximize profit, we need to compute the value of the marginal product of labor, the MPL. The value of marginal product of labor equal to the marginal product of labor time the price of the output, the market price of Apple, for instance. It also um, known as the marginal revenue product, which is the additional revenue from adding one more unit of labor. This value of marginal product also obey to the law of diminishing, because as you hire more worker, so the value of marginal product will decrease. So same thing with MPL. As you hire more worker, the value, the marginal product of labor decreases. As you hire more worker, the value of marginal product also decreases. So figure number 3 display the value of marginal product of labor. So we can see that the value of marginal product of labor, which is equal to marginal product time the price of the output, depend on the number of workers. So you can see that the curve slope downwards, the curve is downward sloping negative slope because of diminishing marginal product. So meaning, so as you hire more worker, the value of the marginal product will decrease. So for the competitive firm, profit maximization firm, this value of marginal product is also known as a firm level demand curve. So for a competitive firm, profit will maximize whenever, so the firm hire worker up to a point where the value of the marginal product of labor equal to the wage. In other words, so if for the value of marginal product of labor is greater than the wage, firms should keep hiring. If the value of the marginal product of labor is less than the wage, firms should lay off workers. So it's higher up to a point. These two, value of marginal product of labor equal to the wages. So the value of marginal product curve is the labor demand curve, which reflects the value of marginal product of labor. So whenever there is a shift in the labor demand curve, so this will change the output price. So it will also change the demand for labor, where VMPL equal to MPL time the price was going to change also. So labor demand would shift whenever you have a technological changes. Well, for instance, if you have technological advances, new and better technology, labor demand will increase and shift to the right, which will increase MPL, so will increase the demand for labor. So on the other hand, if you have a labor saving technology where you don't need a lot of worker, this will reduce the hiring process by businesses. So labor demand will decrease and shift to the left. So and this can reduce MPL, which will decrease labor demand. So also levels the supply of other factor. If supply of the factor also changes, this will affect the marginal product of other factor.